Now let's read what the Apostle John says in 1 John 4 in chapter 7. He says, "Dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God." Well, every once in a while, we get a simple answer to a complicated question. And it's okay. Where does love come from? Love comes from God. We're supposed to love each other because love comes from God. All love comes from God. The feeling you have for your spouse comes from God. The feeling you have for a really good pizza comes from God. The feeling you have for your favorite cat or dog comes from God. The feeling you have for your children on a good day comes from God, because love comes from God. Well, let's continue with what John says. In verses 7 and 8, he says, "Dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God. Anyone who loves is born of God and knows God. But anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love." Now, it's easy for God to give us love because He is love. It is impossible for me to give you something I don't have. As much as I would love to give any one of you a brand new Mercedes, don't have it. I can't give you something I don't have. Does God have love? Yes. Why? Because God is love. Love is not something God does, it's something God is. John says, anyone who does not love doesn't know God. Love is a big thing. It's a big deal. It's way more important than how it makes us feel, or how much we spend on flowers, or how much chocolate we eat. In fact, love tells us an awful lot about our relationship with God, because God is love. Now, if you're thinking I may be making a bit too much of this, consider this thought. Way back when He created the world and put us in it, Genesis tells us that God said, "Let us make human beings in our image to be like us." Now just think for a second. If God is love, and you are a human being made in God's image to be like Him, you are love. Have you ever wondered why there's something in all of us that almost can't survive without giving and receiving love? There's a funny meme I've seen on Facebook, and my family really enjoys it, because it says, "There is no love like the love of a grumpy dad and the pet he didn't want." Rhonda and the girls make all kinds of embarrassing noises when they walk in, and one of their cats is curled up on my chest asleep as I'm sitting there watching TV. They go, "Oh, oh," and I'm coughing and rubbing the hair out of my eyes. I don't know why I let that thing sleep there. It's annoying. But they say, "Oh, Daddy loves his kitty." There is something in every one of us that has to love and be loved. And if you don't know why, it's because we're made in God's image, and God is love. We were created to be like God. No wonder it's so important to us. No wonder it seems like it oozes out of every cell in our bodies. I have known some pretty crusty, cranky people, but there is something that they love. And if you notice, most of the love songs are not about the person we love. They're about how that person makes us feel. We're designed that way. If we can't love, it's because something in us is broken. It's not because we're weak or we have different priorities. It's because something in us isn't right if we're not able to love. We were designed that way. We were designed that way because love is why we were created.